I was taking a short getaway alone to an Airbnb about 6 hours away from where I lived. I didn't choose it for any reason in particular. I just opened the map on Airbnb and looked for something cheap and somewhat isolated in a smaller town, just so I could get out of the city and enjoy some quiet for a few days. I didn't actually care about how nice the town was, because I planned to be in the Airbnb pretty much the whole time. The house I booked was alone in a small forest, inside of this really
That's kind of creepy. A small cabin in the forest, in the middle of the forest. That's like kind of creepy. I would not stay there.
small town, and it was the only house listed on Airbnb for that whole area. The good
$24 is also like it's really cheap, but it's like really creepy considering $24 for a cabin. Yeah, that's kind of fishy and like creepy at the same time.
price reeled me in though. I made the drive, mostly through empty wooded roads, until I got to the house. I guess it was more of a cabin though, if I'm being honest. It was older and surrounded by trees, with no other houses or buildings in sight.
Yeah, you better hope you don't get in trouble or need help because like you're in the middle of nowhere with nobody around, and you better hope you have service or you ain't gonna be able to get help if you need it.
I opened the creaky front door and brought everything in. The only thing I needed to do before settling in for the next few days was go to the grocery store and stock up on some food and drinks. I drove into town. It was mid-afternoon, but there were almost no other cars or people out. Maybe it was just because I was from the city, but even for a small town like this, it felt like I was driving through a ghost town. And when I walked through the grocery store, it was just as empty. The few people I did pass by, though, gave me a strange, cold look, following me with their eyes as I passed by them. It almost felt like they all somehow knew that I wasn't from here, and they didn't like it. It was really weird. I got what I needed and headed back to the cabin. By then, I think I'd mostly decided that I was just being paranoid over nothing. There's no way those people actually cared who I was. I was just some random person in a grocery store. I shook it off and felt better knowing I wasn't going into town for the rest of the trip anyway. I unpacked and watched TV in the living room. That whole night and the next day was nice and quiet. That following night, though, it was pouring outside. A storm had rolled in.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not staying by myself in the middle of nowhere when it's raining and storming. Like, no, I'm going to go to where there's people because I'm not staying by myself in a storm.
Didn't seem like it was going to stop or slow down anytime soon. I was cozied up inside, of course, laying on the couch half asleep, when there was a knock at the door to the cabin. I shot up and looked at the door. There's no way someone was outside the house in the middle of this storm. I checked my phone and saw no texts or anything from the Airbnb host. It was also just that one knock at the door. After maybe 30 seconds, I got up and walked over. When I looked out, I didn't see anyone, although it was really dark and there was no porch light, so without opening the door, I couldn't make out all that much. As the minutes passed, my mind stumbled to every possibility that wasn't someone knocking at the door, like maybe the storm blowing something over, or even me dreaming it while being half asleep. I think I really just didn't want to believe someone was out there, because I knew how unsettling that would be. I laid back down on the couch and had the TV on, sort of paying half attention and just laying there. A decent amount of time went by. I wasn't keeping track, but if I had to guess, I'd say about an hour. The TV was fairly quiet, but the storm was still going on. Between those sounds, though, there was a sudden cough behind me, like a man quickly
Yeah, that cough would, I'll be out of there. And seeing that in the window, I would definitely be out of there.
coughing and trying to cover the sound. I jolted my head back and looked, immediately seeing something move away from the outside of the window. I'd only caught a split second of it, not enough to even make out if it was a reflection or a figure.
Yeah, it was definitely a figure because, first of all, you're not close enough to have a reflection, and also, like, you're in the middle of nowhere, so why would there be a reflection? You know what I mean?
But obviously hearing the cough gave it away. Someone was
Yeah, somebody coughing, that's not a reflection. That's a person.
outside the Airbnb. I knew they had to have been watching into the cabin through that window, which instantly sent chills through me. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, telling them I think I was being stalked and
Hey, at least I got service.
that someone was creeping around outside. The storm was too loud for me to hear any footsteps, so I had no idea if they ran away or were still around out there. I was relieved when a police officer showed up only 3 minutes later. I opened the door and started explaining what was going on, but the officer was visibly unbothered by anything. When I finished explaining, he just responded with, "That's it," as if it was no big deal. The officer didn't take down any notes or anything.
Usually, police would take down some notes, so that's kind of weird that he didn't.
He had that same cold look as everyone else in the town. He almost seemed mad at me, like he was genuinely upset for making him
Why would he be upset for calling when you needed help? That's kind of suspicious, so it might be him.
come out into the storm to help me. He said he didn't see anyone when he pulled in, so if something actually happens, then to call. Before I could say anything else, he turned his back on me and drove away. I honestly couldn't believe it. That made me feel even less safe and even more disturbed.
Yeah, it would make me feel more unsafe too because if something happens, the police isn't probably going to do anything about it.
By whatever the hell was going on in this town. This whole town had me on edge, and knowing something wasn't right, I decided to call it early and just get out of there. I locked the door and started rushing to pack my things. I was only able to get my backpack opened and begin stuffing clothes into it, so like maybe 60 seconds went by after the officer left before heavy knocks slammed against the front door again. But this time,
That's kind of suspicious. It only took the police officer 60 seconds to leave before the knock happened again. Yeah, that's kind of suspicious.
they didn't leave. They continued to bang on the door. I only checked out of the bedroom window, confirming the cop car was gone, so I knew this was whoever had been watching me. I hurried, packing everything I could in just 3 or 4 minutes. I thought about calling the cops again, but honestly, I felt like it would somehow only get me in trouble.
Yeah, calling the police again wouldn't do anything, and yeah, you're probably right. It would probably get him in trouble, like even more trouble.
Or that the cop would somehow take the other guy's side even if he did catch them. But then they suddenly stopped knocking. The storm felt like it got increasingly louder. I couldn't hear if they left or not, so I quietly walked up to the door and looked out. I saw nothing. No one was out there. I knew I needed to leave whenever I had the chance, so I had my backpack on and my car keys ready. I was at the door for about a minute or so, before I just happened to glance back, and again, at that same window, I saw something move. I knew this was my only chance to make a run for it. I swung open the door and fled out of the cabin, into the storm. My heart was racing, knowing the person was probably running around the house to get to me. I got in my car, turned it on, and pulled out of the driveway. With the heavy downpour, I couldn't even see more than 10 feet ahead, so I don't know if they had chased me or not. They could have even been right behind me, running up to the car as I pulled away, and I wouldn't have been able to see them. I drove down the forested driveway until I got to the road, then left town and drove all the way home without stopping. That was the most unsettling and creepy experience of my life, and I think it's worse because I don't know why any of it was happening, or even who it was creeping around the cabin.
It could be either three people: the Airbnb person that's selling it, the police officer, or the people at the grocery store.
Watching me through the
That's what I think.
windows and banging on the door. I keep thinking about the weird feeling I got in that town, thinking maybe people knew that the cabin was an Airbnb, and them hating outsiders for some reason, they went to extreme measures to get rid of me. It almost gave me the feeling that I was in the middle of a town that was all part of a private cult or something.
He probably was. Like, the Airbnb is probably like for the coat people, but that's my thought. Let me know what y'all thought is in the comments.
If I decided to stay that night, things might have escalated past the point of no return. Luckily, I didn't have to find out though.